Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. And this time you can see us. The man with the hat is Rick Curti. The man without the hat is Mel Farr, and the guy in the orange is me. Glad to have you guys here, on the broadcast. And now people can not only hear us, but they get to look at us. How about that, Mel? Glad we took the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel plunge.
Yep, looking forward to it. You know, some of us only have a face for radio, but I'm giving it a shot here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? I don't know. I don't know what I have a face for. All I know is I have a face for controversy when I like to dole it out, and I have a face for a lot of information. And I got two great faces working with me tonight, as I have, and have been loyal team players for the longest time. So I'm glad that we can finally look at one another and we can have fun doing this broadcast. As everybody knows, that we are starting to take the South Florida Tribune Zoom plunge, and I'm glad that we're able to do this thing and continue to grow the brand, but in a much different way, the visual way. With that said, okay, we're not going to lead off with football. We're going to make you feel at home, Mel, and talk about baseball. The Atlanta Braves, that is. They clinched their 20th division title since 1969. They have a World Series to show for it. They won. There was a period where they had 13 division titles in a row. And now, obviously, my question is what is the reaction in the area? They've won 3 straight. And, of course, my Miami Marlins have been taking care of business these first 3 games, and they need to win in the worst way. But let's talk about, Mel, the reaction about how things are going with the Atlanta Braves. Are they really getting ready and geeked up for the postseason?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, you know, they talk about it on the news. You don't see a whole lot about it. Obviously, you don't hear a whole lot about it, rather, obviously, because there's no fans in the stands. But yeah, I'm sure everybody's pretty excited about them and having the opportunity to go to the postseason. I think they have a game today, I believe, to see if they can sweep the Marlins. But yeah, I mean, anytime the Braves get into the postseason, it's an exciting time around here.
Yeah, I know full well that when you look at the Atlanta teams per se, the Falcons, for the most part, have underachieved. I know they made it to a pair of Super Bowls, but came out on the short end. You don't have the Hawks haven't been relevant, and they lost hockey for a period of time. So I think the Braves have been the one constant winner of the teams that you have locally, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been consistent. You know, for as long as I can remember. You know, back in the days with Smoltz and Glavine and Maddox and, you know, I can't remember, Chipper Jones and all that. I mean, they've been consistent, you know, for a long period of time, and they have a standard of excellence there. You know, back when Bobby Cox was there, I mean, they were expected to go to the postseason. So, you know, they're getting back to that. They got some young guys on the team that are playing well, and you know, everybody's really excited about what the Braves are doing and what they can do.
Rick, what are your thoughts about the Atlanta Braves?
Well, congratulations to the Braves. They have been consistent, but you know what? With all that success, with all those division titles they've won, and I was a huge Braves fan. I love Smoltz. Maddox was my favorite pitcher growing up. They only got that one World Series to show for it with all those division titles. And, you know, they've come up in the short end last couple of years. So we'll see what the Braves do. But, I mean, if they don't at least make it to a World Series appearance, I think people in Atlanta are going to be a little disappointed in them. They have all the talent there, but the question is, do they have enough to win another World Series in Atlanta? And that's to be determined.
Yeah, but they're going to have some obstacles in the National League. The Dodgers are obviously one of the heavy favorites, and don't sell the San Diego Padres short either.
Yep,
it's awfully good, and I think if the Braves don't get there, you know, everybody's talking about the Dodgers. And I know they, like you guys have said, the Braves are a relatively young team, so I think the future is definitely looking pretty good for them, for sure. So onward. Let's talk about Robert Kraft, okay? He has 2 solicitation charges for prostitution were actually dropped, okay? Mr. 79-year-old here obviously utilized the fact that he had deep pockets, and those, like I said, the only reason that these charges were dropped is they were unable to proceed when the courts would not allow the video to be utilized as evidence against Kraft. So in Palm Beach County, there was an 8-month investigation at the Asian Day Spa, but he could be disciplined by Roger Goodell. with all due respect, Robert Kraft, to me, is certainly one of the best owners, but somewhere, some way, we all know that his deep pockets got him out of this little jackpot in West Palm Beach. Who wants to talk about that one first?
Well, I think it goes back to what we've been dealing with all summer, is that there's two separate justice systems. There's justice system for those who have, and there's a justice system for those who have not. There's a justice system for the people of color, and there's a justice system for others. So,
right.
Obviously, it's not a surprise. I mean, he was able to throw enough money at that problem and take care of it. I mean, he's going to have the best lawyers that money can buy. So it's not a surprise at all that this is the conclusion that they came to, that these charges were ultimately dropped. That's something that obviously was very, very embarrassing for him. But just having to go through it. But it doesn't surprise me that these charges were dropped.
Yeah, that case was probably doomed from the start. I mean, anybody that really thought Robert Kraft was ever going to serve any time with his lawyers, all these billionaire owners, I think you're right, Mel. It's probably more embarrassing for a guy in his late 70s to even be involved in such an incident than what money can tell. I mean, let's face it, some of the NFL owners have been known to make some major mistakes, and all it did was just, I don't think it tainted their reputation, but it didn't really certainly help their name in any way, shape, or form. But it gets washed under the rug for sure. And I'm one of the guys I'm actually referring to was Jim Irsay, when he had some issues with alcoholism and some of the other things. But again, what are these owners being held to in terms of a particular standard? And that's what you have. It's one thing for the players that have to set the example, but I would think that it should be set from the example with the owners. But again, billionaires versus whatever. Rick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised it didn't get dropped any sooner, and so it's not a big surprise to me. It's like Lori Loughlin. I mean, it's all about money. It's all about fame. If you got the fame and you got the money, you really can get out of jail free card, and like Lori Loughlin, I heard that she was able to choose her own jail to go to, which is, I mean, if I got arrested, I don't think they're going to ask me what jail I want to go to. It's going to throw me in jail. So there is definitely a new set of rules for being rich and being famous and all that stuff. So I'm not surprised by this. And if he does get disciplined by other owners, he'll get a little slap on the wrist. I mean, he's a multi-billionaire. So, I mean, what's $100,000 or a $250,000 fine for him? It's nothing. So not a big surprise there. And like I said, if he does get disciplined, it's just going to be a little slap on the wrist. So I agree. I think it's more embarrassing that he got caught with this incident than anything else.
Yeah, I think that actually the only one that wins the most by it is the Asian Day Spa. Look at all the publicity. I don't even know if they're in business. I don't get up that way, but they got a lot of publicity. All you need to do is Google them up on Google. I haven't even bothered. I just found it interesting because as we talk about Robert Kraft and his prostitution, we'll just go ahead and have a nice little segue and talk about the New England Patriots' impressive loss to the Seattle Seahawks, for which Steve Ballesteri and I talked about on Wednesday's edition of the Sports Exchange. Let's talk about Sunday's game. Now, what were your thoughts about the way the New England Patriots handled themselves up in the Pacific Northwest against a very good Seattle football team?
Yeah, I was interested in watching the game because I wanted to see how Cam looked, and he looks good. I mean, there was a time a couple years ago, the last time he was playing, and you looked at his throwing motion, and you could see his throwing motion was very labored. It was very unusual. And looking at his throwing motion this past weekend, I mean, it looked good. The balls were coming out of there tight, nice spirals. He had a lot of heat behind those passes as well. Cam Newton looked really good, and I thought that they were going to win that football game. And they really had a chance to win. They sold out. Seattle, Ken Norton Jr., somebody I went to college with, they sold out on Cam running that ball to the left, and they guessed right. If they might have just, faked the run and slipped somebody out there in the end zone, they probably could have scored a touchdown. I know a lot of people have made something about him bouncing outside. I don't think bouncing outside was an option based on what I saw, but maybe he could have got outside. I don't know, but they look good. He made the guys look good. I mean, Wes Welker had a career day that day.
Well, you mean Julian Edelman, right?
I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, Julian Edelman had a career day that day.
Sorry.
Looked outstanding. The wide receivers looked good. I mean, the team just looked good. If they can get, Belichick can work on his defense, him or his son, whoever's running the defense over there, if they can work on their defense and stop some folks, they can, they have a chance to win some ball games because they have enough on offense with Cam.
Yeah, I think that was one of those instances where they went to the well one too many times going that route. But again, who am I to second guess anybody? I'm not coaching the game of football. I never have and would never stiff anything except a press conference asking a question. But, you make that play and they anticipated coming instead of a bootleg, anything but what they did. And I think the New England Patriots walk out of Seattle with a win. But,
the fullback did a terrible job. I mean, he allowed that little DB to submarine him and get underneath him. That's a terrible blocking job. I mean, that's unacceptable. As a fullback, you got to root that guy out of there. You got to get lower than, low man wins. And, you got to give credit to the DB. He got extremely low, got much lower than that fullback. That fullback really didn't look to me like he wanted any of that contact. And that's why, that's where the play got blown up.
Right.
Well, Cam is, rejuvenated himself. He's done really well. This is exactly what the Panthers should have done with Cam Newton. They tried to make him too much of a pocket quarterback. They were trying to make him too much like a Peyton Manning and a Tom Brady. And I said, Cam, if they had Cam just run and throw, man, he could have been like the LeBron James of the NFL. He would have been unstoppable. That's how good he was at his time. But they made him too much of a pocket quarterback. His footwork has been terrible. And now he's being utilized how he should have been utilized. So, he hadn't been playing for the last 2 years. And I think this is the best system for him to really kind of rejuvenate himself. And if he has a really good year and if the Patriots win the division, and it's a pretty easy division, he could get comeback player of the year if he so I'm not really surprised that he's running as well. So we'll see how deep the Patriots can go. But I think their Achilles heel is definitely their defense.
Yeah, I think another thing that we should think about as well is he has a good 1 year run with them. That there's no doubt that the Patriots will ink him to a multi-year deal, whether it's 2 or 3 years, and he gets the stability that he needs with an organization that's certainly capable of producing that. Let's go ahead and talk about tonight's game, the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew on the national stage. Is Minshew mania really going to be for real against the Miami Dolphins struggling to get their first win? I've been to this interstate matchup quite a few times, and let's not kid yourself. This is going to be one of the bigger games in a lot of different ways. I mean, are we going to be closer to seeing Tua Tagovailoa? And we know that I don't think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are tanking for Trevor because Gardner is playing pretty well his first couple of weeks. So, I think the Jaguars are certainly on house money, and David Caldwell and Doug Marrone are on the hot seat. Does this cool it off a little bit with a respectable performance on national TV? Maybe they do have their franchise quarterback. I don't know. Rick, why don't you lead off with this one?
Yeah, I'm not really believing in the hype of Minshew. I'm kind of tired of hearing about him. This guy gets so much hype for really not doing much right now. Jacksonville doesn't really have a great track record with quarterbacks, with Bortles and then Blaine Gabbert and all that. So I don't really have much hope for him in being this great franchise player. I think he's just a lot of, smoke and mirrors and things like that. I think he's kind of exciting to see. He's kind of like, he reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield, just a lot of flair. They actually kind of look the same. And so I'm not really into the Minshew hype and things like that. So, I just think he's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. So it should be an interesting game. I think the Dolphins will win. I think the Dolphins are a better team, and we'll see what happens. But for Minshew, I'm not buying it.
What about you, Mel?
Well, he Jacksonville has surprised me. He's played well. I think they went out there and they beat Indianapolis. They're 2-0, right? I haven't watched them play that much, but
no, they're 1-1.
They lost 1-1. They won their first game, right? They beat Indianapolis, which I didn't expect. Who did they lose to?
They lost 33-30 up in Nashville to the Tennessee Titans in a game that was very heavily, closely contested. And I think they have an undrafted running back named James Robinson, who's performing quite well. And they obviously the biggest thing the Jaguars did when they let Leonard Fournette go, but maybe they have a hidden gem on that team. So they've been very competitive the first games. They get a win, like you say, Mel, that they did not expect to get against Indianapolis, although they may think they did. I don't think the rest of us thought that they did. And, of course, they competed hard against the Tennessee Titans. So, this is a pretty good 1-1 start. I think there's a little bit of optimism there. So, albeit there's only 2 games left, but tonight will go a long way towards seeing what direction the Jaguars are really headed on a national stage.
Yeah, sometimes it's addition by subtraction. Sometimes you get rid of some of that cancer in the locker room and, things are able to turn around. And maybe that's what they did there. They got rid of their DB last year. They get rid of Fournette this year. And, maybe it's just a little bit of addition by subtraction.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Detroit Lions and the Arizona Cardinals. Let's face the reality. It was very painful for me to watch the Lions lose to the Green Bay Packers because my wife is sitting in here and she's gleaming like Gomer Pyle's smile. She really is. But I also, with Steve Ballesteri, pointed out that I thought the Lions were going to get clobbered 41-17, 41-14. Green Bay put up a 42 spot, but the Lions hurt themselves with penalties is what they did at crucial times, and it didn't hurt when you have the running back for the Packers 75-yard run. But the Lions, to me, are an absolute mess. You cannot depend on Matthew Stafford to do it all, and that's what they're doing right now. I'm not using this alibi that having Kenny Golladay there made a difference. This team has lost 4 straight games in when they held double-digit leads, which is yet another NFL record. But we really need to see any more NFL records for all the wrong reason. But, there's a chance this team could go 0-4, knowing you have the Cardinals this week and you have New Orleans afterwards. So, all right, Rick, go ahead and lay it on the Lions.
Poor Lions, their big mistake was getting rid of Jim Caldwell. He is such a great coach. He's an underrated coach, in my opinion. He took the Colts to a Super Bowl. He was successful with the Lions, and that's saying a lot because they haven't really been a very successful franchise. I miss the days of Barry Sanders and Wayne Fontes and things like that when they were, a decent team and went to the playoffs, but they've been a disaster with Matt Patricia. And I hope a lot of these NFL owners, they need to stop drinking the Bill Belichick Kool-Aid because his track record with coaches and things like that with Josh McDaniel, Charlie Weiss was terrible, Romeo Cornell, and now Matt Patricia looks like a complete joke. So if they have the worst record, I don't see Patricia coming back this season, and I think they're going to look elsewhere. But their big mistake was not keeping Jim Caldwell. Matt Patricia's been a horrific hire for them.
No question about it. All right, Mel, what's your take on this?
They should have won that game against Chicago. The running back from Georgia that they drafted out of Georgia in the second round, Swift, dropped a pass in the end zone. It doesn't get any better than that.
Right.
And then they end up, whatever happened on the last down. But they really should be 1-1. Now they went out in Green Bay and they just didn't compete, unfortunately. And when it's just. But I feel better about the Lions now. I guess I'm being an eternal optimist once again. They kind of had a transfer of power over during the offseason where Mrs. Ford transferred the power over to her daughter.
Right.
And her daughter's kind of running things right now. And they're already talking about today, if Patricia goes 0-3, he might be out of there. And, and deservedly so. He's won 9 games since he's been there. And the team is not competing. He has not done a very good job of coaching the players. They had Darius Slay there. He couldn't get along with him. He's a defensive coach. Figure defensive coach, you're going to be good with your defensive guys. Right. He had a problem. They had a safety that they ended up trading, I think it was, to Seattle. For whatever reason, he couldn't get along with this guy. So he's a defensive coach, and they're giving up all these points. No, Matthew Stafford can't do it alone. That's why they brought in Adrian Peterson. That's why they've drafted DeAndre Swift. They've got to commit to running the football. The Lions just don't have an identity whatsoever.
Right.
And identity has started really from the top. You look at the Steelers. Obviously Pittsburgh is a tough city. So they got a tough ball club. Their owner is probably, I guarantee you, their owner is tough. Even though It's the wife running it, but I guarantee you she's tough as nails. They have a tough football team. They're going to run the football and they're going to play great defense. What are the Lions known for? I mean, we had the little gimmick offense for a little while when Wayne Fontes was there.
Right.
Very fun, very entertaining.
Right.
I see Barry Sanders do a lot of great things. Teams were, somewhat competitive, did make the playoffs. I think they went to the NFC Championship one year and lost to the Cowboys, but they're always a copycat. They're always trying to copy. They're always a step or two behind as opposed to leading the trend. Get one of these young, innovative, I don't care if it's an offensive guy or defensive guy, but you got to get an young, innovative mind as an offensive coordinator to work with what you have. I mean, you have a lot there. Matthew Stafford, I feel bad for the guy.
Right.
I mean, he's never had a chance to win. I mean, and he still wants to be there. That's the thing about it. The guy wants to be there, and he's been on some of the worst football teams in the world. I mean, they ran Calvin Johnson out of there. He just didn't see where he had an opportunity to win, and that's where he left. So I feel a little bit better with the new ownership. Mm-hmm. They need a clean house, figure out who they are, what they want to be, get that kind of talent all throughout the building, and go out there and put a product on the field that's worthy of the fans spending their hard-earned money to go watch it. I mean, Detroit is a tough city, so we need to have a tough football team.
Right. Well, let me go over a couple things because you said a lot there, okay? I covered the team that you're talking about, and that year, and I'll tell you, it was a great year. I've covered them for many, many years, as you well know. But they beat the Cowboys 38-6. The only playoff win that they've had since 1957, the last time when they ended up beating the Cleveland Browns in the championship. And then they walked into Washington and got hammered by the Redskins. And at that time, though, here's where some of the mistakes occurred. And Rick, you're right. Jim Caldwell should never have been let go. I've been saying that for the longest time. In fact, he's the only winning full-time coach that they've had since Joe Schmidt. And you know that name, Mel, all too well, Joe Schmidt, because your dad played for the guy. But here's my point, all right? You've got a situation where, again, you're talking about Matt Stafford. Jerry Vanisi was the architect of that team, and they let him go in favor of Chuck Schmidt. And all I'm going to tell you, guys, okay, Jerry Vanisi was a key contributor with the Chicago Bears. How on earth do you let Jerry Vanisi go? That was mistake number one. Mistake number two was Eric Kramer took over the reins when Rodney Peete went down, and he should have been given that starting job the following year. But Wayne Fontes' biggest mistake was bringing back Rodney Peete with the philosophy, I don't like to let my quarterback lose their job due to an injury. Well, Wayne, you probably should have, because how did it work out when Don Majkowski got hurt and Brett Farr took over? How did it work out when Drew Bledsoe went down and Tom Brady took over? You get the drill, guys, okay? This is the kind of stuff that you deal with, and again, it's easy for us to second guess. Don't get me wrong, okay? But you're right. I think with the new Ford regime changing hands yet again, with Martha handing it down to her daughters, they'll be a lot more aggressive. And I think what probably bothered them the most, though, was losing that 21-point lead to the Chicago Bears. Forget about the Packers situation for a moment. 11-point deficit up in the second quarter against a team like the Packers, who, by the way, don't have as many weapons as a lot of the other teams. But to lose to the Bears in the manner that they did, and a continuation over from last year when you lost 2 games in double digits, and to have a 4-game a 4-game losing streak where you led, that's embarrassing. We know, Mel, how tough it really is, don't we? Detroit is. But at one point or another, really? I mean, and you're right. So I think that, now here's my prediction, and we'll revisit this probably in a few weeks. Let's just say hypothetically, if what you're saying, Mel, is true, is this. Lions are going to get clobbered. I'll get to you my Cardinals pick in a minute. Okay, I want to make my point first, okay? The Lions get clobbered by the Cardinals, which I believe they're going to do. I'll make that pick now, okay? They're going to give up 45, 50 points, and they're going to get blown out. with Arizona. Why? I'll give you 3 reasons why. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, and their defense is going to get clobbered. Their secondary. Steve Ballesteri has been telling me for the longest time that when the Lions brought in Matt Patricia, it's a bend but not break. Well, let me tell you, fellas, they're breaking, and they're breaking very badly is what they are. And that Patricia's defense have been known to give up a lot of yards. Add the discipline. So you've got that going against you. But if they get, and then they lose to New Orleans, then you have the bye week is what you have after that. And then after in the bye week, then they take on Jacksonville down here. And Jacksonville, I don't know if I'll get to that game or not, depending on whether or not they'll allow us to go because of COVID-19. Another story, another night. Okay. But how many times, Mel, have you seen a coaching change occur during a bye week? And the guy that I think would likely be a good internal candidate immediately might be Darrell Bevel, because he has a 12-game opportunity to prove, are you worthy of getting that job? Just like when Darryl Rogers got let go and Wayne Fonts won the job, that's when an interim coach has an opportunity to get the job full-time. All right, now that I've said a mouthful, and I do believe the Lions are going to get blown out like 45 to 50 points to like 21 or something like that. It's going to be, I would say, 3 touchdowns or greater, and the Lions lost to the desert in Arizona. It's going to get ugly. If you think Green Bay was bad, and then you have New Orleans, they'll both be ugly, but watch the massacre in the desert. Kyler Murray's going to kill them. So now that I've said a lot, go ahead, Mel. Where are you going to take I'm handing the ball off to you. Where are you taking this football, Mel?
Well, you did say a lot there as far as Detroit's concerned. I don't know much about. I mean, I know a little bit about the guy that you're talking about, but I just think that, I know a little bit about him, but not a whole lot.
Well, Adrian Peterson went there because Darrell Bevel was the coach, so there was that familiarity factor. Continue, though.
But, I'm just disappointed. Every year it's the same thing. I mean, they started out great. I'm like, wow, the Lions look good. The next thing you know, I'm watching the highlights and I'm seeing DeAndre Swift drop a pass that was handed off to him basically in the end zone. Right. And then you go out there and you see what they did the following week. And the biggest thing is, you look how they treated Jim Caldwell. Right. And this guy had a winning record there. And you look at the patience, the impatience they had with Caldwell and the patience that they're showing with Patricia. Right. Good point. That's what I'm saying. And I'm waiting to see what the new ownership is going to do here. She was a competitive tennis player at Yale, if I'm not mistaken. One of the first females to go to Yale when they started allowing female students to go there. And she was a competitive tennis player. So I think she's a competitive person. I think she wants to win. So, maybe it won't happen this week. Bye week is always a good time. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how it all plays out in the next few weeks and what the future holds for Patricia and the Detroit Lions.
Good points all the way around. You're right. Okay. Well, anytime you get new ownership, impatience, but they've seen Matt Patricia's work. They have. And I'll tell you what, to me, to lose double digit, that's just bad. But again, winning 9 games during the course of this period, being a major downgrade over what you had is even worse. Any closing thoughts on the Lions argument? Drinking the Belichick Kool-Aid? I'm glad that Rick Curti carried that one over when we talked about it earlier in the week. The Belichick Kool-Aid. Enjoy it.
Yep. They've been drinking a lot of that Belichick Kool-Aid, and he doesn't have a good track record. Josh McDaniel, every season he's always, he's one of the top coaching candidates. And I'm like, why? I mean, he didn't do nothing with Denver and Indianapolis. I think they dodged a bullet but when he didn't want to get the job, because I think they upgraded with
Frank Reich,
with their new coach. Yeah, with Frank Reich, and I think he's a terrific coach. I think that was great for them. So, and I'm sure he'll be another candidate again next season. I mean, who knows? He could go to the Lions as far as I know. But it's just they keep drinking the Belichick Kool-Aid just because Belichick's a great coach, and just because he's got a coaching staff doesn't mean you're going to be great. I mean, we see it all the time. So, a lot of these owners, they need to just say, he was a discipline of or a disciple of Bill Belichick. And it's kind of like, yeah, and so what? Who cares? So, I mean, unless you bring Bill Belichick to the Lions, and I don't see that happening, it's going to be tough. And I don't see Patricia surviving this season. I don't think he'll get fired this season unless they just he really loses the team, which I think he's lost a lot of the players. Unless they're like super, super bad, they go 0-6, 0-7, maybe. But I think at the end of the season, I think he's gone.
Yeah, I think actually he's going to be gone when they go 1-4. That's what I think, especially with New Orleans and Arizona. I think a lot of it might have to do with how badly they get hammered out in the desert, to be honest with you. Because that, to me, has the makings of an ugly football game. Mel, would you venture to even have the guts to come up with a score with that one, the Lions and the Cardinals?
No, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of scoring on the Cardinals side. I'm certain of that.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're going to have fun. The Lions probably not so much, but I'm sure that that Arizona's going to have a lot of fun, and they're going to get in the end zone quite a bit.
You're a smart man for not coming up with that score. I'm a Metro Detroiter, and I'm already giving it 3 or 4 touchdowns. The Cardinals are going to blow them out, and we already know that Rick Curti's signature line for the broadcast is a Belichick Kool-Aid. With that said, okay, last transition from the team that beat the Lions last week to the one that gets a trip down to Bourbon Street, and they take on the New Orleans Saints, the battle of quarterbacks, Hall of Famers, I might add. Aaron Rodgers against Drew Brees. All right, Rick, what type of football game are you expecting there?
Oh, that's going to be a great game. Aaron Rodgers looks great right now, and Drew Brees, we'll see what happens with him. Is father time, catching up with him. And what is he, 41 years old? So, that's going to be an interesting game. Brees is still a great quarterback. He throws if he has 30 touchdowns a season and throws for like 3,500 yards, that's a decent year for him, where anyone else would be a career year. So I like the Packers. I don't know about the Saints. That even though they did play a really a good game in Las Vegas, and the Raiders, I think that the move for the Raiders was great for them, kind of rejuvenate them. They look really good right now. Great stadium. So I like the Packers in this, but it's kind of like a heavyweight fight, with Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees, and I'm going to give the edge to Rodgers. I like Rodgers.
All right, Mel, where are you going with this one?
Well, you look at how New Orleans played the week before when they played the Buccaneers. They played lights out. They looked great. Drew Brees looked great. That defense looked great. And then with the way they played against the Raiders, Drew Brees looked old. Defense didn't look very good. Right. You look at look at Green Bay right now. They're very hot. Obviously, they're coming off a big win against Detroit. If I were to, if I were a betting man, I would say that Green Bay is going to win this game, because the last time I had the eye test with New Orleans, they didn't look very good, and they weren't playing a great football team. They're playing the Las Vegas Raiders, and I don't think anybody thinks they're a great football team. And they did not look good. I don't think they played down to the competition or anything like that. I just think they didn't look good. Now, maybe it's because Michael Thomas wasn't out there.
Well, that's probably the reason. I was just about to go there.
Well, you target a guy. He's not a guy that stretches the field or anything like that. He just catches a lot of balls.
Yeah, but when he gets a lot of yards and scores a lot of touchdowns, you take away a horse like that. Come on, Mel, really? He's Drew Brees' favorite weapon, except Alvin Kamara. But you're right. You take away Michael Thomas from a potent lineup like that, and there are some problems. Let alone the fact that against the Green Bay Packers. So Mel, you're right on target with your point. You really are with Michael Thomas. No, he's a very and he's going to be out for at least a few weeks, as I understand, doing an ankle strain. You don't need him to be out against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers will find a way to throw that short dink and dunk stuff all day long. Well, we all know here, as football people, that the object of the game is when you go downfield, it looks pretty, okay? But the object of the game is to score touchdowns. My goodness, I'm a real football genius. If you have to go 5 here, 10 there, 15 there, 20 there, 30 there, it doesn't matter how you get to 7 points, okay? Throw the football, run it, it doesn't matter. You ran it, okay? But the whole idea is, winning ugly, losing pretty, it's not the point, and this is called football 101, right, Mel? Whether you have Michael Thomas or Alvin Kamara, just get the ball in the end zone as much as you can and kick field goals when you have to. When you get the opportunities, make them and don't miss them. But I think that the New Orleans Saints, you're right. They walked in to Las Vegas. The New Orleans Saints walked into Vegas, and, give the Raiders credit. They won the first game ever in Las Vegas. But we're right. You're right that Drew Brees is aging. And, do we think we'll ever see Jameis Winston at some point? He's there. Whether or not we'll see, time will tell if he ever gets in the ball game. So, But Green Bay and New Orleans, I'll go with you guys. I think Green Bay's going to win this football game too. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go down there, and I'm looking at maybe a 28-17 game in favor of the Packers. That's my gut feeling. Am I far off, or are you guys right in the ballpark there?
That's what I have around there, around like 24-17. I think it'll be pretty close, and then I think Green Bay will pull away from it like in the fourth quarter.
Well, I guarantee there won't be a snowstorm there. It's indoors. It's Superdome.
Yeah, no snowstorm.
Yep, that's good.
I mean, got air conditioning. So, all right. Well, my goodness, I love segueing, don't we? We'll go from the team that New Orleans lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. Boy, I have to get used to that one, right, guys? Against the New England Patriots. How do you size up this football game?
I think this will be a good football game. Obviously, with the Patriots losing the way they did last week, right on the last play, I'm sure that they're going to be fired up and looking to get back in the win column. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Cam looks, from week in to week out. I'm really, really impressed with how he played last week and how he was throwing that ball all around the lot. I mean, the balls were coming out nice and he was spreading it around to everybody. I like the way that he had command of that offense. The Raiders are an interesting football team. They're big up front. John Gruden likes to run the football. They like to pound it. Those running backs, I don't see how they're going to last. You can't run through everybody. Right. You got to dodge somebody. And, Josh Jacobs, man, those guys are trying to run over everybody. Bless their heart. But you can't – I mean, this is the NFL. This is not, even though Alabama, they played in the SEC, this is not the SEC. These are big, grown men, and you cannot run over everybody. You got to dodge somebody. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good football game. Derek Carr played well. They got a kid, the big tight end they got out there, Waller, who's from out here in Georgia, went to North Cobb High School, went to Georgia Tech, was a wide receiver. He's 6'5", 230. Well, he's 250 some odd pounds now, but he's 238 pounds when he was at Georgia Tech. Ran a 4.4 something 40, and played with the Ravens as a wide receiver. Goes over to the Raiders, and they make him a tight end. He's a mixed match. You put a linebacker on him, a linebacker can't run with him. He's too big for a safety, and he's got wide receiver skills. Guy caught 12 balls last week. So I like this. I like what John Gruden is doing. I like how he's thinking. I think this is going to be for whoever's calling the defenses over there, whether it's Bill or his son, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they attack the Raiders offense.
Yeah, a guy to watch out for with the Raiders is Henry Ruggs. He was the wide receiver out of Alabama. Candy and I got a first-hand look at him when they took on Michigan in Orlando. So it'll be an interesting game. But I think you're right. The New England Patriots are going to be looking out for blood, and I think the more Cam plays, the better he's going to get. And I'll tell you, the New England Patriots could be a bona fide threat. When you lose a heartbreaker like you did in Seattle, and like I said, they look good in that loss. Yes, to try to go toe-to-toe with the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, fans or no fans, against a very explosive offense. Seattle took their best shots. It's just Russell Wilson was a little bit better and just a few yards better than Cam Newton on that night. So, Rick, what are your thoughts about this game?
I think it's an intriguing game. I think like I said, the Las Vegas Raiders, which you have to get used to that. I think that this move did well for them. I think they're rejuvenated. I think they have a new fan base. I think they're happy with their stadium. I think it's the best stadium in all the NFL. It's great. I like the Patriots, though. I think I love the way that they're utilizing Cam. This is exactly what Ron Rivera and the Panthers should have done with Cam instead of trying to make him a Peyton Manning, which he's not. And I like how they worked on his mechanics. So I'm not really surprised that Cam is doing as good because you got a great head coach in Bill Belichick that knows what your strengths and weaknesses are. And he knows that Cam is not going to be that he's not going to be Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or even Drew Brees. He's a running quarterback, and he's big and he's strong. He hasn't played football like in the last 2 years, so he's pretty fresh right now. And he's really determined to really kind of prove to everybody that he's not washed up, And I know in Charlotte, they still miss him a lot. They talk about him a lot, and I wish we still had Cam, but this was just not the right fit for him. And New England's the right fit because he has a coach that knows what his strengths and weaknesses are. So I like New England in this.
I think that's kind of unfair. I mean, Cam's been hurt the past couple of years. I mean, you think about when he came out, he took the league by storm. When he came out, his first 2 games, I think he threw for over 400 yards. I mean, Cam can throw the football. That's not an issue about it. Now, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, they're two of the best that ever done it. But I mean, can he be a little bit less than one of those guys? I mean, we're talking about a guy that did win the MVP one year. So I mean, obviously, he had some skills with that. With that franchise over there in Carolina, he was able to do something over there in order to win the MVP and take that team to the Super Bowl. But, he's been hurt the past couple of years. He's been banged up, unfortunately. And so my thing is, I'm just glad to see him playing. I mean, we haven't seen him play in, a couple of years now?
Right.
I mean, it's been a while since we've seen Cam actually out there competing and playing. So I'm happy to see him playing. It's like a kid with a new toy. Yeah. I mean, his arm is live. I mean, the balls are coming off. I mean, he's throwing it, he's spraying it all around. He's accurate with it. I mean, I think he completed 68% of his passes last week against a Seattle defense that's supposed to be pretty good. They got some pretty good guys over there. So, I mean, I'm excited for Cam, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do this week against Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are going to get hammered. I really do. I think the New England Patriots are one angry football team. We'll talk about one more football game, then we're going to switch gears to another sport, okay? That being the Kansas City Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens, two of the finest young quarterbacks, and they're wealthy men. One's going to be wealthy. The other one is wealthy. I'm referring to Patrick Mahomes with Lamar Jackson. Great football game. Then again, what would you expect? They got it on Monday night. All right, Curti.
This is a great heavyweight fight right here. You got two of the most, great young quarterbacks in Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. This is going to be a slugfest. It's just going to be like who's whose night it's going to be. And I like Mahomes. I can't bet against him. He's the MVP. He's won the Super Bowl. To me, he's the best quarterback right now in the league. And he's just got the NFL by storm right now. So I like Kansas City, and I think they have a little bit more better weapons and things like that. But I really can't go against Patrick Mahomes. To me, he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Mel?
Well, they say styles make fights, and, obviously styles – they couldn't have two contrasting styles than these two teams here.
Right.
Kansas City throws the ball to set up the run, where Baltimore, they run to set up the pass. Two different types of quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, there's not a throw that he can't make. And then, with the quarterback of Baltimore,
Lamar Jackson. Right.
His legs. I mean, there may not be a quarterback that's faster than he is. So two different – I'm not rooting – I mean, I'm rooting – as a football fan, you love to see two great teams play against one another. Doesn't matter to me who comes out on top, because I know I'm going to see a great football game. They play solid defense. We know Baltimore, they're going to run the football, and they're going to play great defense. We know that Andy Reid's going to have some tricks up his sleeve for Baltimore. They're going to do two or three trick plays that they're going to run. But it's going to be a great football game. There'll probably be some scoring because, Kansas City's defense is a little suspect, and because Kansas City's offense is so good. So there'll probably be some scoring in this game, but I'm just looking forward to an entertaining football game.
Yeah, all I'll say about this, I'm not going out on a limb with this one. I say it's a 3-point win for either side. I think they're both different. Like you say, Mel, they're both different. Yeah, Mark Ingram, the X factor for the Ravens. Of course, we know about Lamar Jackson, and we know about Patrick Mahomes and all of his weapons, including the new running back. Is it James Edwards-Helaire? I think it is, a kid out of LSU that they brought in. So it'll be a slugfest, heavyweight fight, however you want to stereotype. I think it's a 3-point differential either way. All right, let's get off football. Let's go to the hard court. The Los Angeles Lakers against the Denver Nuggets. LA leads that series 2-1 tonight. Michael Malone has turned out to be one of those individuals. I love the guy. I knew his dad, Brendan Malone, when he was assistant with the Detroit Pistons. And he said, you know what, I'm angry that I had to have my family here in the bubble. And I'll tell you what, he enjoys staying in the bubble. How do you not really root for the Denver Nuggets, a team that's made a living coming from behind in this postseason? I mean, Rick, I know you're from the Los Angeles area. It would be a great story if the Lakers get there. Kobe Bryant passes away. Certainly a great tribute to him. But tell you what, don't sell those Denver Nuggets short.
I like the Nuggets, you know, and I am from Los Angeles, but I really was never a Laker fan growing up, to be quite honest with you. But,
Oh, really?
you know, I know it'd be great for them to win one, especially with the passing of Kobe Bryant. But the Denver Nuggets are the Cinderella team of the NBA right now. You know, they haven't seen this much success when they were with Dikembe Mutombo.
Right.
You know, when they were down 3-0 against the Sonics, and they came back and won, and they were the first, I think, 8 seed to beat a number 1 seed in NBA history. So we haven't seen this since then, and they don't really have a historic franchise or anything like that, but they are proving a lot of people wrong. There's no pressure on them. All the pressure's on the Lakers, you know, because everybody expects them to win, especially with Anthony Davis coming there. And if they don't win a championship, you know, COVID or no COVID, it's going to be a massive disappointment. So I like what the Nuggets are doing. Do they have enough? I don't know. You know, we'll see, because there's no pressure on them. Nobody expects them to get this far. And Malone's a great coach. He was in Sacramento, and you know, we're talking about the lines on, you know, been making a lot of mess ups, and the Sacramento Kings are the same way, you know, especially with Vlade Divac in charges. Thank God he's not there anymore. They got rid of a really good coach right there. Now he's doing really well in Denver. So I have the Lakers winning this series, but it's going to be pretty close. And but Denver's just, they're the Cinderella team of the NBA season right now.
I think when you compare Malone leaving Sacramento, going to Denver, it's like comparing Chuck Daly leaving Cleveland to go to Detroit. Major mistakes. And I think the Denver Nuggets are playing on house money. Now, meanwhile, we're looking at a guy that used to reside in L.A., played for UCLA, Mel Farr. What are your thoughts about the Lakers? Is Rick Curti right? Are you rooting for the Lakers? I got to believe you're rooting for him, but how do you size up this thing?
Oh, yeah, definitely rooting for the Lakers. You know, they came out flat in game 3. You know, they played for the last 8 minutes probably of that game. Very disappointed in the effort that they had that game. They couldn't hit any shots. You know, LeBron couldn't hit the mid-range. He couldn't hit the long range, the three-point shots. Caldwell Pope was missing. Anthony Davis. I don't know if they were tired or if they were just a little overconfident, weren't taking them seriously, just thought they could roll out of bed and beat them. I don't know what it was, but I expect that Los Angeles will come out today, get out early, and stay out early. I mean, we know that this is a team that, you know, when they're down 3-1, they have you right where they want you. That's their thought process. Okay, we got them right where we want them. We're down 3-1, and you know we know what we're capable of doing. But you know, you play for the Lakers to win championships. That's why you come there. You don't go to the Lakers to make it to the playoffs. You know, through the second round to the Western Conference Championship. You go to the Lakers to win championships. That's what they're known for. So there's no pressure. I mean, that's the expectation. And so anything less than that obviously is not a successful season. And so there's always pressure playing with LeBron because LeBron wants to win. And, you know, he could help his team out sometimes, you know, not jacking up those heat shots, doing a heat check, trying to see if he can make it from the timeline to see if he can make a three-pointer. But they get out there and play defense the way they play defense in the first 2 games, get out in transition, get out and run, don't turn the ball over. They got to take care of the ball. And, that defense creates offense for them. I expect them to take care of business. The one thing you don't want to do with this team here is let them hang around and get some confidence. Because we know what they're capable of doing. I mean, they've won 2 series being down 3-1. So the last thing you want to do is let them even up the series. And they're like, man, we can really play with these guys. Right. Because they really can't. And, you know, I understand Coach Malone, Michael Malone's a great coach, but players win games, not coaches. And the Lakers have the best man on the planet, the best basketball player on the planet. And then they have Anthony Davis, too. They got 2 first-team All-NBA players, and they should win without a question.
Yeah, I mean, if LeBron James wins a championship with the Lakers, this will be the 3rd different franchise he's done it with, which I think is great. And, of course, his window of opportunity as he gets older is starting to wind down as well. But I'll tell you what, though, the Denver Nuggets being the underdog, playing on house money, we even talked, to me, that's a very powerful card. And like you said, the longer an underdog hangs in there, they don't have anything called fear. So I am rooting for the Nuggets, but there's perception. And there's reality. The reality is I think the Lakers will win this series, which will set up the stage for the Miami Heat. Should they get past the Celtics, the Heat lead that series 3-1. Game 5 is on Friday night. How do you guys size up the Miami Heat, Boston Celtics? And then we have a few more things before we wrap it up. Rick, go ahead, lead off with the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics.
I think Miami's a really good team. I think Boston's a really good team. You know, it's amazing how all these teams are always better without Kyrie Irving there. You know, and so I like Miami. I think they'll win it. They're another team that I think a lot of people kind of underestimated, didn't think about it. Everyone was all into the Lakers, into the Clippers, winning championships and things like that. But Miami is doing a really, really good job, and Spoelstra's just done. He's a great coach. I think a lot of people just underestimated him because he was, you know, he had Dwayne Wade, he had Bosh. Of course, he's going to win with those two. And now that they're gone. He really has to skip the beat. They have been a really good team with those three guys that have been leaving. So I tip my hat off to Spoelstra. He's a great coach, and I don't see Miami blowing it.
No.
Yeah, Miami's. I mean, I hadn't watched Miami play one dribble all season, and they've impressed me watching them. You know, Jimmy Butler's playing outstanding.
Right.
You know, they got the kid from Kentucky, Tyler Hero. He's playing outstanding. Right. Bam is playing great. You know, they kind of remind me. You know, if you look at it, you think about it. You know, they could be kind of sneaky. You know, when the Lakers had the 4 Hall of Famers, when they had Shaq and Kobe and Gary Payton and Karl Malone. And they ran up against this team from Detroit who had a bunch of nobodies.
Right.
But, you know, gentlemen swept that team.
Yeah.
If the Lakers aren't careful, that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the difference is the Lakers aren't as old as they were back then with, you know, some of their players. Kobe was obviously young. Shaq was pretty much still in his prime.
Right.
But the Lakers are a lot more talented. You know, Miami's not as big as the Lakers are. And they're not as talented in the area of their bigs. They both, you know, Miami probably plays a little bit harder defense than the Lakers do, but the Lakers are going to really have to buckle down and play some good defense. If they, you know, get the opportunity, you know, if they, you know, get past this test here with Denver. But I think that, you know, people, maybe a lot of people don't think that's real sexy. A lot of people probably want to see them play Boston just for whatever reason because of the 2 big markets.
Right.
But I think, you know, that Miami LA game, it could be pretty intriguing. I think it'd be pretty intriguing. There's a lot of good little storylines there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, because of the way they play so hard, you know, they play like, you know, Pat Riley has taught them how to play. You know, it starts from the top and comes on down, and they play very unselfish basketball. That, you know, they could create a lot of problems for the Lakers without question in my mind, though. So I would look forward to that series. But first, we got to take care of business with the Nuggets.
You know, Mel, you bring up a couple interesting points. The one guy who gets the Rodney Dangerfield card is Jimmy Butler. Okay, Minnesota had him, couldn't handle it. Okay, Philadelphia had him, couldn't handle it. Chicago, but he looks at Pat Riley as Coach Riley, and Pat Riley commands that kind of respect. Eric Spoelstra is the most underrated coach in the NBA. He really is. And Mel, I'm going to tell you right now, I love the comparison that you have when you compared the Miami Heat to the 2004 Detroit Pistons. That is no superstars, one really good player with a bunch of complementary pieces, and that's how Joe Dumars built that team. Only when he dismantled it, he wanted a superstar, and we all know where that went. Not going to talk about that tonight, but there are some similar characteristics. I personally would love to see the Heat against the Lakers, Pacific Ocean versus the Atlantic Ocean, the Miami, LA kind of thing would look good. And I think the Celtics have a lot of work to do, and I think Miami smells blood. And I have a feeling that they're definitely we're going to see the Miami Heat against the LA Lakers, LeBron James facing his old team. I mean, and, you know, I'll say this all along, and I might get a lot of people that disagree with me. I don't believe this season championship should get an asterisk. What these guys have had to do with the majority of the season is they've had to win it under tough circumstances in the bubble, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail. No asterisk, but that's just my opinion. With that said, okay, I'm going to end it on the rant of the day, and then I'm going to let you guys go ahead, and we'll close out the broadcast. my rant of the day is COVID-19 bit me in the butt. Why? I'll tell you why. The University of South Florida, my alma mater, okay, was supposed to take on the Florida Atlantic University Owls in Boca Raton, and guess what? No game. That cotton picking stinks. Now, that would have been hard for me to watch, although it wouldn't have been hard. I'm a USF guy through and through between, although forget about what happened to Notre Dame, 52-0. Well, forget about it, because I think USF probably would have hammered FAU because they get mad after being embarrassed by Notre Dame. But unfortunately, COVID-19 bit us in the rear end. And it goes back to the old adage that Mel keeps saying, why are we playing college football? Everybody's getting buried with this thing. Will we see a season? I don't know. But Mel, you don't have to say nothing about it. We're giving you a COVID-19 free list show. Okay, so we're doing it. But that's not stopping me from doing it, though, because I had that cotton picking game on my calendar. I wanted to go. And guess what? I'm not going. Oh, well, so be it.
I feel your pain, Scott, because that's how I was with the 49ers, Charlotte. They were hurt by COVID too, and they would have been a big game for them. And they have a young coach, and they went to their first Pro Bowl, and COVID-19 hurt them. So I feel your pain.
Thank you. And by the way, if FAU does play next Saturday, you know who they're playing? University of North Carolina, Charlotte.
I love it. I'm happy that they're being recognized, because they're a really good team, and football new to them. They only had a football team for the past this is their 7th year that they've had a football team. So I'm really happy for the 49ers.
Me too. With that said, now that I got my rant, so you don't have to say nothing about COVID-19, Mel. We're giving you a COVID-19 broadcast off. At least you let me say it. But that one hurt because I was really looking forward to it. Oh, well.
Well, I appreciate it. I can tell you that.
Oh, I'll bet you do. I hear your sentiments on there. I pick up your signals. Only this time I get to do it with a camera in front of me. Good stuff. Am I turning red yet? I don't know. Don't care. All right. With that said, Rick Curti, go ahead and let everybody know how they get a hold of you. Mel's going to do the same, and then I'm going to go through the particulars as well. And we have, following this broadcast here, we're going to have fantasy football with myself and Ryan Stolroot. All right, Rick, lead off.
Okay, well, my website is www.charlottebats.com. My email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB. We also have another fan page there called Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti. You can contact me on any of those social media websites.
Show them the hat.
And I got my Charlotte Bats hat,
and
I got my Let's Bring MLB to Charlotte t-shirt on. So
Get up.
I'm in all gear.
There you go. Okay. Get a better phone so we can see it all. At least, hey, you having one is better than nothing. It's good enough. All right, Mel, go ahead, buddy. No, not from the big chicken. This time he's in the big house. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I can be reached on all the social media sites at Mel Farr Jr. That's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Email address is melfarjr@gmail.com. And our website is melfar.org. There you can go and see what we're going to be doing for the youth here in Atlanta and also up in Detroit.
All right, and last but not least, me. Okay. If you want to hear this broadcast, you can hear it via Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. If I went too quick, no problem. I'll say it again, or as they say in Canada, again. Okay. That's Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, to follow us on social media, you can do so by following us at Twitter at Tribune South, Facebook, Instagram, South Florida Tribune, the YouTube channel, which is where you're seeing this broadcast, is through the YouTube channel. We encourage you folks to go ahead and subscribe. You get all of our broadcasts on there from the Sports Exchange. You name it, they'll all be on there. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. We have our content from our media distribution partners, as well as the columnists, the broadcast there. We also have a special section on there for the Motor City as well. We have a lot of Detroit material on there. And you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Scott Morgenroth. I should point out, Rick Curti does a wonderful job making sure that he retweets and helps our social media department out quite a bit. So on. Any closing thoughts, Rick?
I know this is a COVID-free show, but I just want to stress out to people to wear masks, social distance, wash your hands. Please avoid big crowds. Please don't go to any parties. Just use some common sense. And, it's just frustrating to see people just really not doing all that, kind of just, I know I'm tired of COVID and I'm tired of staying at home, but, this thing needs to be taken seriously, and it's just sad to see all these other countries recovering, and yet we're still got the highest rate, and it's not going to slow down, unfortunately. So just use some common sense and wear a mask.
Okay, well, with that said, that's Rick with a hat, Mel Farr, and is here, and I'm the guy in orange. Now you know who the three amigos are tonight here on the Sports Exchange. So. Meanwhile, on behalf of Mel Farr, Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Sports Exchange, and we will catch you another time. Have a great weekend, everybody. Goodbye.